In just to catch up on a couple things very quickly. Is there anything new on like Church, Teodo, those guys?
Teodo's down, so
Right.
he's making his way back up. So I don't really have information. He's in minor league camp.
Okay.
Yeah. So you have to.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Church is making his way. I don't really have too much news. We're trying to get him into a game as quick as we can when he's ready, but no significant news. He's throwing sides, but I don't have anything like real updates right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So after a game in Goodyear, I asked you yet another dumbass question.
You're hard on
Just
yourself,
something
Evan.
about somebody getting thrown out at home, and you went into some very long explanation that sounded very interesting.
Okay.
About your philosophy and testing some things out about sending guys early. Can you elaborate on that a little bit? I mean, what are you guys looking at in terms of sending guys, no outs, one outs, relay plays, that kind of thing?
I think there's certain organizations and just kind of doing research that they believe, and some very analytical organizations believe in it's hard to score runs, so they send guys more often than not in unconventional ways. So, for instance, infield in with no outs, they're sending them no matter what. Relay throws, it's one of the more challenging to redirect a throw at the major league level and get them out at home. So they send guys home more often than not and take the chance because the backside runner typically will get into second base and you'll have someone in scoring position if he's out or safe with one out. So just looking at different ways to score runs and not just be like, black and white and this is what you should do, this is what you should not do, no matter what. When do you do it? Is early in the game? Is against high leverage? Is really the main question for me and the stuff that I'm trying to figure out because say there's a closer on the mound with nobody out. We have a guy on third, lead off triple, nobody out. Are we going to wait to see if we can get a sac fly for 2 times? It's hard to get a sac fly with sometimes an elite closer on the mound. So do you send him right away in fear of a punch out, maybe with the second guy on deck? So I think there's a number of things that you take into account of who's on deck, who's hitting, who's on the mound, the leverage in the game. Again, I say it all the time, like when is leverage? Is it the 6th inning? Is it the 9th inning? Is it the 8th inning? Because I think you can win, win or lose a game in the 6th inning, just like you can in the 9th inning. So I think we're just trying to figure out, or at least I'm trying to figure out exactly, when it is the right time. And right now we're just giving these guys the liberty to not these guys, Rags, to test, what he sees as well, being a new third base coach, and see how it looks.
Is that something new or for you exploring this, or is it something that you employed as a philosophy in Miami?
I started doing it before Miami, and then as I had a year of watching the game last year of different. I shouldn't say downtime, but I had a lot more time to think of different situations and research different organizations and why they're successful and what they did to score more runs or think outside the box. But sometimes when you think so far outside the box, it puts you in a box, and so I don't want to go too far down that road. But I'm just looking at different ways to create more offense, and I don't know if it's right or wrong. We're still looking at it.
You got a feel?
I don't know yet. I'm still it's hard for me to just send guys with no outs at home and make the out at home. That's hard for me to comprehend.
Because it goes against everything you were taught.
Correct.
As a young player.
Yep. So, but I think there's different scenarios where you can take a shot at it based on the situation with the backside runner getting in scoring position and still have a chance to tie the game or whatever it is. So it's just hard for me to wrap my head around because I just don't want to be, but I don't want to be stuck in my ways either.
Are there analytics that support the notion that you would send a guy with no outs?
Oh yeah.
There really are?
Yeah, so that's what it's on my mind a lot of trying to figure out what different organizations see without having a guy in-house there so I can ask questions of some that I really respect these guys, but just trying to figure out what they see and why, and that's when you start talking to other managers. Some guys love it, some guys don't love it, but that's part of what they do, and it's worked. And at the end of the year, it kind of comes out in the wash where it's, guy bobbles it or whatever, infield in with no outs, and it worked, and you kick yourself for not sending the guy with no outs, and then you're looking up and the guy's still standing on third base and the inning's over. So it's just, either you go for it or you don't, I think, the whole year.
Right.
And but you got to
it's like playing blackjack. I mean, you either play by the book or you don't, and
well, yeah, but there are all ways to play blackjack, right? So and I'm trying to figure out those ways to be most successful most often. And I think if you just play blackjack blind, you're done, right? So
Right,
I'm trying to prepare the right way. Yeah.
Do you have a number? Let's say that you're saying you're making them make a perfect play anyway, right? In a lot of situations, there's a lot of situations where it doesn't have to be perfect. But is there a number that shows you what perfect is? How often?
That's kind of what I'm trying to go through. It used to be like speed of the runner at home, speed of the runner at third, and the guy on deck. That's how you used to think about guy on third base, right? Like, what does that look like? Mixing out at home, he gets a run down, the backside runner gets to second base, and we have a really good hitter on deck. We can live with that. Yeah. I still feel like that is kind of the thought process with no outs. Usually at one out, you're just sending the guy because that's what old school, the thought process is. But the actual tangible number, I don't have that because there's different organizations send guys different times of the game. So it's kind of all over the place, and that's what I'm trying to figure out.
well, I mean, there's no numbers to even glean. Did you talk to McKay about this?
I talked to McKay a lot about it. Yeah.
What's the give and take?
I'm not telling you what Dave McKay and I's relationship conversation. I've fractured the relationship. Arizona has one of the best base running teams year in and year out, and Dave McKay has been a
And they're
fixture.
aggressive in that regard, right?
And they're very aggressive, and there's been a number of different names on the roster, and they still continue to be really, really good on the bases, and your offense ends up being pretty good because your base running is good. It goes hand in hand. So I'm trying to figure out how all of those happens. Our hitting coaches would love for us to score more runs, and if we're in scoring position more often, that helps our offense, right? The total number. So I'm just looking at, I don't know if I have the right answer yet. I don't even know if I have the answer. So I'm just trying to.
This is an interesting discussion, right? And it could change the way the club looks. That's all I'm saying. It's to me, it's an interesting concept.
It's really interesting, and again, sometimes you have to try new things, because the worst thing you can do in this game is stand still and watch. I've said that a million times. So there's always certain things that you can try and learn. It's a figured out league. It's not a know-how. It's a know-how league, not a figured out league. So I'm trying to figure it out here in spring training to see what it looks like. So when the season starts, you guys are going to ask questions like, why did you send that guy with no outs? And I'm hoping I have the right answer. Because that's real questions when you get somebody thrown out at home with nobody out, and hopefully I wouldn't do this, but Corey Seager's on deck or something, so.
Okay, so I mean, the one real tangible example of that for me was Haggerty trying to score from first on Jansen's double. Jansen ends up at third because he takes the base on the throw.
Yeah.
How did that play out for you, or how did you like the look of all that?
I thought it was a good aggressive play, and a guy on third now with one out. So we still have a lot of opportunity to score that run early in the game, especially. I thought it was a good play. Later in the game, that's more challenging if it's a 3-2 game, and that's second and third now, no outs. I think that's where you're.
That's where it becomes real dicey.
Yep, and that's where I think Rags is also kind of learning the personnel, learning the guys that he can send, and the whole deal. And so you have to learn the roster. Wyatt Langford going, he's like a freight train. You probably don't hold him much, right? Danny Jansen probably a little different. So I think it's also who you have on the bases.
So speaking of new things, so what do you think about ABS so far?
Quite honestly, I wish there was more challenges available to guys in spring training. just so they could get used to it. I know CY has mentioned that. I totally agree with that, just so everybody, because a lot of guys are gone after the 4th or 5th inning, and so you want the other guys to also be able to utilize it, especially the guys that come in the game from the mound and see who we can trust and that type of thing. I like it. It's going to be interesting to see what it looks like during the season. You know, when the umpires have to face the crowd and show. I mean, that's tough. You know, for them. You know, I feel for them in front of 40,000 people, and what's that feel like? It's hard. I mean, we're talking inches, and you talk about the spirit of the rule. A lot of the times with all these new rules, and the challenge is, you know, it shouldn't be just like this bang. Not always a bang bang play is what the rule was for. Well, I don't know if it was meant for like that far off the plate either. So it's hard. I mean, it's really hard. But you know, the goal is to get it right. The goal is to probably get more offense. You know, and get guys in the zone. Everybody talks about swing decisions and winning. You know, winning home plate, which means like throwing more strikes and hitting more strikes. So I get why, you know, this is in play. But you know, so far it feels like the catchers have been really good at it, and the pitchers have been okay at it, and the hitters have been okay at it. So I don't know what the data is just yet. I haven't looked at it. I'm going to look at it midway points, probably after the off day, to see where we're at. But it feels like the catchers have a pretty good idea what a strike looks like.
I went down a couple of years ago to Rockwall just to see what that was like, because, you know, they were testing it down there, and they were doing it both ways, you know, where it was all calls, you know, on the robot, and then the challenge system. And I'm surprised that the players pushed back on it, pitchers especially, but the hitters did too. And I thought that the idea that night after night you would know what the strike zone was, as opposed to adjusting your strike zone every night to that particular umpire, would be a good thing. And I'm surprised to find that that's not what these guys thought. What has been your experience so far, and what players in general think about it?
I'm assuming pitchers in general want to win on the edges more, and I'm guessing that's why there's probably a little bit of pushback of, like, you know, the pitchers want, you know, an inch or two off and that type of thing.
That was their complaint.
Yeah.
I want to be able to get it because I have to throw a strike now every time.
Exactly.
You know,
yeah. So that's probably the main issue, and then you have the hitter saying, "I want the ball on the plate. I can't hit that ball." So I understand where it's at. It just makes it hard. I like the human element. I think that's the beauty of the game. I think that's going away from the game with all these, you know, even when there's a challenge, it's like you don't see a manager come out too often debating a play on the bases, because it's just challenge, and that's kind of it. You know, there's no back and forth, and I think you're going to lose maybe a lot of that if there's a full ABS system. I do feel like there's still going to be some back and forth once you lose both your challenges. There's going to be some arguments with the balls and strikes if it does end up getting opened up a little bit now that you lost both challenges. But I think it also is showing that the umpires are pretty good. I mean, they are. I mean, there hasn't been like these, and there's some every now and then, but for the most part, I mean, the umpires have been pretty dang good, and they are missing by this much or getting it wrong by this much. Shows you that, you know, they've done a really good job.
Yeah, but over the years, with everything you see now, what fans can see, and we live in a conspiracy-driven society, and everybody wants to think stuff, and especially with gambling being so prevalent now. It is really incumbent upon everybody to try to get it right, isn't it?
Probably, yeah. I think that's the goal, is to try to get every play right. I'm not going to go down the gambling road because it's a sensitive subject, obviously, around the league. But I do feel like there is something to be said about getting that the players just want to get it right, and I think eliminating maybe that box is probably a good thing sometimes for the players also, when they go inside the iPad and you know, see if it's a ball or strike, and you know, a lot of that stuff, I think there's can change, and there's a gray area there of like how much you want the guys on the iPad of like looking at balls and strikes all of the time. So the gambling part, like, I'll let you guys write about that. I don't want to get my name involved in that part of it. It's but I do feel like the ABS it's going to be fun for the fans to see it. It scares me to think about what it's going to look like in like the 9th inning, 3-2 count, game on the line, and then a game is won or lost on a challenge in a playoff situation or whatever as well. So that's going to be interesting to see.
It's been pretty painless though otherwise though, right? It's fast. I mean, you know.
Yeah, painless right now, no issue right now. That's how all the rules were a few years ago when they're implementing all these things as well. It's just we're both learning it, when to use it, how to use it, the right times of the game, when to be selfish, when not to be selfish. I think we're all learning it, and I think it's going to get better and better as the season progresses. But I just that last inning, last out, game on the line, that's going to be the interesting one.
Do you have a theory about? Do you have a problem with guys challenging in the first inning? I mean, would you rather guys hold these kind of decisions?
Again, it depends. Bases loaded,
Yeah.
3-2 count,
Yeah.
and yeah, it's a leverage spot. By all means, if you think it's a borderline pitch and it should go your way, then yeah, I'm good with it.
Yeah.
I think it's when it's the 0-2 count with nobody on base with 2 outs and you want to challenge that pitch, that's the selfish move. So I think we're trying to figure out, you've seen teams have cards in the dugout lately of like when a time is a good time to go and when time is not good to, don't do it this inning or do it this at bat. You have a chance to do it, go ahead and use it. I think there's going to be more and more of that in dugouts.
You go into the card system.
I'm not against it because it speeds up for players, and you forget sometimes, and you just want that call so bad, or they want it so bad, or whatever it is. And I think it just ego gets in the way sometimes, and so I understand it. And you're not going up to the plate thinking, all right, if it's a close pitch, don't challenge, or don't. It's hard to think that way. So I think if we can dummy it down, or teams are dumbing it down, I think that could be helpful. So I don't know exactly what we're going to do, but teams have been using that system, and I totally get it.
You find some benefit to that.
I do, yeah. I just don't want them to have to think about another thing as they're going to the plate.
But it's when they're going to the plate they see it, not while they're at the plate. They're
Well-
not turning it to see.
No. They're not saying challenge that pitch.
Yeah.
They're saying this would, if you have an opportunity to challenge, this at bat would be a good time to challenge it
basically
based
like
on the
putting
situation.
It's like putting a stop or red light or green light on.
Yeah. No, it literally was red and green cards. So yeah,
Oh, wow.
yeah.